If you're new here, welcome. This is Inside the Falcons Search, a mini series where I'm breaking down the identity of every coaching candidate the Falcons have brought into the building, not just by name, but by scheme, structure, and how the football actually fits Atlanta's roster. And if you've been here, you already know the format. We start with the numbers, we establish the identity, and then we let the film either confirm or challenge what the data is telling us. So today we're moving over Mike McDaniel, and this is where the conversation starts to shift a little bit because McDaniel's offense has a very clear personality, a very clear point of emphasis, and before we get into the tape, it's important to understand what that offense is built to prioritize. So on the screen, you're going to see the same infographic that we use throughout the series. We're looking at run pass splits, personnel usage, and run game identity. The reason we keep this consistent is because it gives us a baseline and it lets us compare candidates apples to apples instead of reacting to highlights or reputations or the narratives flying online. With McDaniel specifically, these numbers matter a lot because they tell us how balanced the offense actually is, how much multiplicity he uses in his personnel groupings, and how much of the run game is rooted in zone concepts versus gap schemes, okay? And all of that directly ties into motion, spacing, and speed, which are really just hallmarks of his system. And once we understand what these numbers say about Mike McDaniel and his offense, then the film becomes much more easier to dissect. So let's start with the graphic, break it down. Y'all can pause it or whatever, but we finna go and jump into the tape now. Now, the thing that stands out to me about Mike McDaniel is how he'll make you cover like every inch of grass. He'll make you cover all 53 in the third, okay? So this is the first player here. We're going to be looking at really just, first of all, the run scheme. It's going to be a gap scheme run because we all know he's a part of the Shanahan tree, just like Kevin Stefanski. Go watch my last video. But they do have the gap scheme wrinkles, all right? So we're going to have this motion across, and this is going to be they're going to be blocking for this swing screen right here, okay? And then going back the other way, you're going to be having these guys are going to be washing down right here. He's going to be cutting off this nose. He's going to just turn him out. You're going to get this center and this guard pulling around, getting out on the edge for the handoff, okay? And it's going to be going this way, all right? And you'll see in the coming clips where RPOs are like really something that Mike McDaniel does. I wouldn't say he does it at the top of the league because he doesn't. He's probably tied. He's like 20th. He's tied for 20th, but the way he gets into his RPOs, they are so like, it's just hard to keep up with him if you're a player because you have a lot of stuff to account for with the motions, the movement that's going on, and you'll see. But anyways, this is just the one thing I want to show y'all right here. So look, you're going to see with this gap scheme run that once again, it's going to move these guys in a certain way that gets guys out of position. So look, here comes the motion. These guys are going to shift over with the motion, all right? And now you're going to do gap scheme going back the other way because now the angles are better, okay? And so now that you have the better angles, you can get out and get to the edge. And with Devon Achan's speed, you're going to have a touchdown right there, okay? Now, once again, it's just all about the movement and stuff that's going on because now it's going to be easy for the quarterback right here, okay? So look, there was minimal movement by the second level, but it was some movement, okay? Because if he were to say pull it, then you would still have, all right, let's check this out right here. You would have 1, 2, 3. And you still have 3 right here, 1, 2, and then the ball carrier's 3. Okay, you could argue 4 is coming all the way down, but either way, if there was a static adjustment to the motion, you could probably throw their swing screen. But since they shifted over a little bit, we could just go ahead and hand it off and get a long touchdown. Okay, it's as simple as that. All right, another thing that he really does that catches my attention is his use of formation, and like he gets really creative with it. So you see, as of right now, they're pretty much like in this go-go offense that they use in college, but you're going to see they're going to motion in the running back and they're going to be in pistol now. They're going to do another motion and put this guy out on the wing. Okay, so now we have a 3-by-1 and essentially right here in the 3 other guy's going to be back there, but we are in a pistol set with a tight formation, okay? And so with this, it creates better angles to get out on the edge anyway. So what we're going to get here, we're going to be getting pin and pull basically. So you're going to get the pin right here and you're going to get these two guys pulling around. Obviously the receiver's going to take it's going to be actually 27 Tre'Davious White, but you're going to see what happens here. You're able to get out on the edge right here, and so you're still going to get everybody just following the play right here, and it's going to create a very good scene for this running back to hit, okay? Because now look, you're going to see there goes the pin. Here come the guys pulling around. Okay. And one thing I also noticed is that look at this. This guy right here, he is afraid to get hit by Chris Paul. I think this is Chris Paul. That might not be him. That might be another guy. I think Chris Paul is the center, but he's afraid to get hit by that lineman. So he's gonna, for some reason, go over here to the tight end. And you see Now, if you look at the numbers just off of this, okay, there's 4 for 4. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 with the ball carrier. So that means you have to make somebody miss. But however, because so much stuff is going on, this guy's taking himself out the play. He's pretty much taking 2 guys out. So now it becomes a 2-on-3 right here. So boom, and there goes the red carpet right here. Okay, nobody's gonna catch him essentially. All right, there's the red carpet. Because once again, Mike McDaniel just had this guy in a blender because he didn't know what was going on. Because remember, if you just back this up again, you're gonna see this is forcing communication, okay? Because now look, they break the huddle and look at these 3 guys. These guys get to talking. They don't know what's going on. Look, he's talking to these 2 guys. They don't know what's going on, okay? And you see they're still here talking, and then they're just going through a bunch of their different checks, okay? And then once again, you get out here, it's a long touchdown because they're forcing all this communication and it just didn't work, okay? So he's forcing communication. He's like easily manipulating the numbers too, and I really like that. Now, this is the next one I want to show y'all. This is like the RPO section of this. Now, I have his playbook from 2022, and this is called Watson. This is his favorite thing to run as far as RPOs, right? Where you have like this seam, or it's really just like post, then you're gonna have the wheel and then the slide element of it, and you're gonna fake the handoff, read the end, and then he's gonna get out right here, the quarterback, essentially. So this is pretty much his favorite RPO to run. Now, I'm still gonna show y'all the breakdowns of this because it's really like fun to look at in my opinion, because he gets into it in so many different ways. Okay, now this situation right here, they're in a 2-back set, so there's 2 running backs, 1 tight end. All right, and now looking off of this, you're probably thinking, okay, well, how does he get into this? Okay, now he's gonna get into it like this. So he's gonna do this short motion out into the rail route. Okay, remember, he was the one that introduced these cheat motions, fast motions, cheetah motions, whatever you want to call it. So he's gonna do that. You're gonna have the post right here. Okay, remember, it's gonna either be a post or he's gonna keep going as a seam depending on the coverage show. So right now it should be a seam route, okay? And then you're gonna get, once again, the handoff going this way. All right, he's gonna open up and then go out if he decides to keep. And here comes the slide part of it. All right, so you're gonna be reading this end. Remember, reading this guy. If he crashes down, you pull it. If he stays out for the keeper, you're gonna hand it off, okay? And remember, as far as the blocking scheme, we're gonna be getting a zone run going this way, okay? So we're leaving him unblocked on purpose, okay? So when we watch this play out, here we go, you're gonna see here goes the fast motion. Okay, there's the fast motion by Ollie Gordon, and then we're gonna open up, get off the midline, and we're gonna read this guy right here. Okay, you see Tua's helmet is looking right at him. He's looking for the sift block, okay? So he's gonna squeeze down all the way. And so since Tua knows that, you know, he's squeezing all the way down, he's gonna pull it. Now he's out on the edge, okay? And it's gonna be an easy dump off right here, okay? And you're gonna see we get about 19 yards off of that, okay? So this is just like quick, easy completions, okay? And this is probably my favorite thing that he runs as far as RPOs, right? Now he does different RPOs, obviously, like the one you saw in the first clip, but like this is his bread and butter, and he gets into it so many different ways, y'all. And then here we go with another RPO. This time it's gonna actually give it, but still the design of it is pretty cool. So you're gonna see there's gonna be a simple over motion, and they're going to be the ones blocking for the swing screen right here, okay? Now, still, it's the same thing as the first one where you're just paying attention to the flow of the defense. Do they adjust with the motion? Do they not? Okay. And then they're going to be running literally just the other way. Okay. So we're going to check it out right here. Now, I still think he had either option open, but it's always safe to just give the ball and let the run game get established. Okay. So now look at this. You're going to see here goes the swing screen action. Now, you could argue that Carson Schlesinger was all over it, but I would argue that you can get the ball out there faster. The ball travels faster than the players. I know this isn't basketball, but still the same stuff applies, okay? But you're gonna see he can hit a crease and boom, it's an easy 23-yard gain right there because you're simply just making the game simple. Now, I'm not saying spam these RPOs like we're Green Bay or the Tennessee Titans, okay, or the Kansas City Chiefs for that matter. But when you look at like things that'll get drive started, this is actually on his menu of things that, we want to get the offense going. Let's call these, okay? Now, this one in particular is a little bit different as far as like the passing stuff. I'm still going to do play action stuff for the most part because I know a lot of people want to see that. But here's another one where it's like, oh, Mike doesn't go in the center. Once again, shut up, because you can do it out of shotgun too, especially with Mike McDaniel possibly being the coach. He's worked with a left-handed quarterback that has done play action out of shotgun and out of pistol, whether you like pistol or not. once again, I really don't have a problem with the formation. You just got to know how to call plays out of the formation. Zach didn't know how to do that, but this right here is a good example. Now, I will say that, let me get this out the way, that the way Mike McDaniel does his play stuff is different from Kevin Stefanski. If you watch the first episode of this, it's like Kevin Stefanski loves to take shots with play action. Mike McDaniel works the intermediate field a little bit more in his designs, okay? Because for this one, what we're going to be getting here, we're going to get this like this low cross and like kind of like a divide route in a sense, but he's just going to work his way across the field, gradually gaining depth as he goes further. And you're going to be getting this deep in cut right here by Jalen Waddle. Now, you could argue this is dagger, because in the install of dagger with these Shanahan teams that you're taught to just get across the middle of the field if it's middle high, it's the middle of the field is closed, okay? And the middle of the field is closer. So you could argue that it's dagger, okay? And I wouldn't give you any pushback, because it could be dagger, it could be drift, which is also another thing. And if you watch the Dolphins game this year when we played them in Atlanta, they scored on drift from 43 yards out, okay? But this is what's going on. So we're going to get this motion, like a little rocket motion that, you know, that the flex bone and the wishbone teams, I said wishbone, but the wing team and the flex bone teams be doing. He's going to go back out and be a pass blocker. You're going to get Tua turning this way. You're going to get the run action going that way. He's going to go that way. He's going to set the throw, okay? And he's so timing based, and the way Mike McDaniel constructs his stuff is so time and based. It's not like where Kevin Stefanski, where you got 8 guys in, you can kind of just feel it out and then wait to throw it. You got to throw it here at this moment in time, because it's so time and based. Because look at this. You're going to see there goes the rocket motion. He's going to turn around and then set up the throw. And you see, as soon as that ball's out, he's catching it. Now, I will say you're going to get more opportunity for rack in Mike McDaniel's play action offense, because it's just the nature of it. All right. And you see he catches it right there. He's able to turn around just a little bit, but he ends up falling. Okay. But you see that you're able to get these decent chunk plays, because this was about 15-ish yards, I think 15 or 17. Because look, this is about 10 right here. So 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, but about 16 yards off of this. Okay. And now you're pretty much in field goal range after that throw, because you started at midfield basically. Now you're in field goal range. So there you go. And this is also another good example of him, you know, designing stuff to where guys can get yards after the catch. So this one right here is a little bit different. You're still going to get the same kind of rocket motion right here. And it's going to like, he's going to be right here, right next to the running back. He's going to go back out and be a blocker on a lead swing. Okay. Because he's going to fake the toss this way. You're going to get the guard coming around pulling, but it's going to be just basically gap protection, because everybody else is going to just block back in a sense. Okay. And now you're going to create this pocket right here that Quinn users can just step up into and throw. And you're going to get, also, you're going to get this guy going across on a low cross. And then you're going to get this guy going in like this little basic or over route, kind of like drive. Okay. And this is just clearing out space right here. And you're getting some kind of quarters, because you have this locked up man-to-man right here. Remember, this is the original number 1. The motion coming out, he's becoming the number 1 again. So that puts the safety on this crossing route. He's playing tricks, and he's just getting over top of number 1, who's just kind of looking like he wants to go upfield. And you're going to get the quarter flat, middle hook, other quarter flat. Okay. And I also want to show y'all how that this motion or this movement on the offensive line, it affects these guys, because he's going to pull, he's going to work downhill hard, creating that open window to hit this throw. Okay. Because once again, a lot of this is time and based, and when it's time and based and it's shortened over the middle, you're going to create this stuff like this. And if you think Mike can't throw over the middle, shut up. Once again, because he did it in 2024 just fine. Okay. Now, this is all an offensive coordinator issue. Some of it was Mike, some of it was Zach, but still, Mike can throw over the middle. I don't know where that came from, okay? Because now, look, you're going to get this motion, fake the lead swing, and look at this. You see how hard he's triggering on this, because he thinks he's getting the ball. And now look at the window that's created. It's a small window, okay? You see, like, this area right here. I will argue it's bigger because he's going with this shallow cross right here, okay? But it's a good window to hit. This is an NFL window to hit, because he's looking, he's flat-footed, he's still backing up, and you see he's gonna throw it. Now, I think Quinn Ewers held it a little bit too long. He was trying to like really see, oh, is he open? And he actually threw it, and you see he was able to get some extra yards after the catch. Once again, a lot of his offense is run after catch, and I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing, because that means you're going to be really time and based, and being time and based as part of your offensive philosophy is really good in my opinion, because you stay on schedule, you stay ahead of the sticks, and you keep the defense off balance. Okay, and you look at that, boom, catch it, get some extra yards. So I like some of his play action designs because they do stuff like this. Now, we'll talk about it in the last segment, but hey, I'm liking where this is going if he were to be the guy. And then this is the last one right here. This is also another creative play call in my opinion, because I think the thing with McDaniel has always been just how creative he is as a play caller, because you're going to see here that you're going to get this motion across, and then once the ball is time, he's just going to run down the red line. Okay, he's going to turn it into a rail route. Then you're going to get, obviously, just like this runoff route, you're going to get this crossing route. Okay, you're probably asking where's this going? Well, you're going to get this fake slam release into the sail route. Okay, so this is like a really good play design. Okay, because you're going to get the fake here, and he's going to roll out that way. Now, I do think you probably could get the same thing as if you're under the center, because the fake would be more enticing to this guy right here because he does not bite on it at all. But also, I want you to look at the back end. Okay, you're going to get this crossing route. All right. And then what you're going to see here is he's going to go rob that crosser. He's going to replace him in the middle of the field. That's perfect zone replacement right there. Like, oh my man. But anyways, back to the whole thing of the video. So look, you're going to see this motion here, and you're going to see that, look, it's going to create a wide open receiver. All right. You're going to fake the handoff. He's going to short roll. And you're going to see once again, like, okay, you have the corner going out. You have the down safety being taken out. And who's gonna guard the sail route? Okay, and then you have the deep over coming too as like the second part of the progression. But this was all just predicated on him taking the run, but he didn't take the run, so Tua had to kind of quick reset and just throw the ball away. He got the arm out, or he got the ball out, and he could have scored right here, but you know, it happens. Good stuff right there. Okay, he can really scheme up some open guys, and I'm liking that. So when it comes to the Mike McDaniel, my verdict is a little more complicated than with some of the other candidates. From a pure creativity standpoint, his offense is excellent. The motion, the spacing, the way he just manufactures leverage, all of that is top tier. There's no denying how well designed his system is. That said, a lot of that offensive success is predicated on speed, especially vertical speed. His offense stresses defenses horizontally first, but the real punishment comes when you threaten them vertically. And that's where I start to question the fit in Atlanta, because right now, that's just not how this roster is built. If you were to bring Mike McDaniel in, you most certainly need to go out and acquire some vertical threats to fully unlock this system. That's where it makes sense to go get a Zachariah Branch in the draft, or find a free agent guy that can really, you know, take the top off of defense and not necessarily like a number one guy, if that makes sense. And then when you start projecting roles for this offense, that's where things can get uncomfortable, particularly with Drake London. I'm not saying you move on from him, but in this system, he might end up being the odd man out. He'd either need to live as a true full-time X receiver in this offense, or be used more like of a pseudo tight end, which he's been used like that, especially like the first year of Zach Robinson. But we all see that he's very good as a slot receiver, because he's not the type of receiver that this offense is designed around. And on the other hand, there are players who could thrive. Like Bijan can make a ton of sense in this system. Kyle Pitts fits very naturally into how McDaniel stretches the middle of the field. And Darnell Mooney, his ability to threaten that space and win on the move would also benefit. So for me, Mike McDaniel is a great offensive mind, but he's a scheme first hire. You're not just hiring a play caller, you're committing to a reshaping of the roster, basically, especially on offense, with what he wants to do. And I'm not sure Atlanta is in a position to where that would be the smartest path, and that's my verdict. But would I take him? Absolutely, but it's gonna come with some caveats, like I said, because it's just kind of tough for me to see him being a head coach here. Offensive coordinator, probably, but head coach, no. That's my whole take on the thing. I broke down the film. I gave y'all the numbers and my opinion on it. So what do you guys think? If you guys do enjoy this video, be sure to like, subscribe for more. See you guys later. In the next one, I'm not sure who I'll do next. Probably Clint Kubiak, because everybody wants to see his, but I'll come out with that soon. See you guys in the next video. Goodbye.